Hello, welcome to Top City Today. I'm Trey McPherson. I'm here with Hannah Nager. She's running for City Council District 6. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you very much, Trey.
So, tell us about yourself.
So I'm a Topekan, born and raised. My parents first came to Topeka in the 80s and bought this house that had been converted into multiple apartments without much regard for the history of the house. It was just kind of sloppily done. And when they found it, it was one of those projects that when you hear the phrase, only a mother could love, that's exactly how they felt about that house. So they spent the next 15 years or so renovating that house, making sure that they could restore this home that had been converted into apartments back into a beautiful Queen Anne Victorian. And that was what I grew up around. Constant work, constant improvement, constant reinvestment back into literally where we lived. That extended to our neighborhood as well. With the Ward Mead NIA, my mom was very involved in making sure that people had the resources to then invest in their homes and invest in the community around. They also helped write a lot of grants so that people could do basic upgrades to their own homes. And it was with that spirit that they really instilled in us that we all three of us kids were very involved in the community. We did a lot of volunteering, a lot of giving back, because that's what they taught us. You give back to the community that gives so much to you. I ended up graduating from Topeka High School in 2008. Very, very proud graduate, hoy hoy. And with that, I was a very involved and successful student. But I got the message from a lot of people that if I was going to continue to be successful, I wasn't going to do it in Topeka, which really ran counter to what I had been told my entire life by my parents. I did end up leaving for college and for dental school. And after 8 years away, you really do understand what things we can do in Topeka to help it grow, to help it flourish. But I ended up getting more maturity and realizing, oh, there are a lot of people who already know this and who are already investing in this. And so when I was finishing up dental school at the University of Oklahoma and looking at where to practice, there was really only one place I wanted to go. It was going to be to the community that had given so much to me so I could give back. And so I came back to Topeka in June of 2017. I bought my house, I bought a practice, and I've been here ever since. I continued with that theme of giving back, making sure that it wasn't just me kind of leeching off the city, but that I was contributing to making this a better place. I have been a part of the Topeka Performing Arts Center board and helped lead Great Escape last year, their major fundraiser. I have been a part of a community action team where we went out and we tested how effective the city's See, Click, Fix program was, making sure that the city was responsive, that the city was thorough, and that citizens were getting what they needed. We actually compiled a whole lot of data that was then synthesized, and we were able to give the city direct feedback, which they could then use and make their system better. And so that's a little bit about me. I'm a dentist here in town, very happy to be here, and there's no place like home.
Well, great, thank you. Mm-hmm. Tell me, is there anything specific that got you to run for city council?
I wanted to do more. I wanted to make sure that I was giving as much as I could. And so when the possibility open for running for city council came up, I was really excited about it. I checked it out a lot because I'm a person who loves to research and I'm very pragmatic. I wanted to make sure that if I was running, I had the time, I had the energy, and I had a good idea of what I was going to be committing to. Because whenever you commit to something of this level, it's not just about you, and it's not just about the group. It's about actually serving our community. And so I was super excited to sign up, but I wanted to make sure that it was a commitment that I could really go ahead and back up with some real solid work. And so when I had asked a bunch of council members how they felt, asked some past city council members and other officials what they thought, I got a lot of encouragement, because I think that people find a lot of value in somebody that is not only excited about the community, involved in the community, and ready to learn and be very critical of how we run our city, but also is involved in such a way that they have a direct investment. I've had a lot of people who have responded really well to the fact that I'm a dentist here in town, because it shows that, yeah, I've already invested and I know more of where they're coming from. I'm not just sitting away, rifling through papers, deciding what I think is best. I have direct contact with people every single day, and I have a direct investment in this as well.
What are your top 3 initiatives when you get on city council?
The top 3 things are things that have been brought up time and time again when I've been knocking on doors, been going to different neighborhood meetings, and just talking with people as I get coffee. Those 3 things are talking about infrastructure and roads specifically, safety, and then community growth. With roads, we're all very aware, if you've driven on a Topeka road, you know you're in Topeka. And so that's been due to the fact that for many years that the basic maintenance was just put off in favor of investing that money elsewhere. Whether it was keeping it with the taxpayers or with different projects, roads were not a priority, and we're really paying the price for it now. Going forward, the city has voted for the Complete Streets program. And that's talking more than just improving our streets and just making sure that there aren't a lot of potholes. It's talking about making sure that top to bottom, our infrastructure and our city services work better. So talking about water and sewer lines underneath the streets, making sure that they are up to par. There are some of those systems that are 50, 60, 80 years old. And in 2018, we had a lot of those water lines bursting. We need to make sure we're keeping up with that maintenance and investing and making sure that it's good to go. On top of that, making sure that our streets are manageable for people no matter how they are getting around. Making sure that there are sidewalks that allow for safe pedestrian traffic. Making sure that our cyclists are supported and have adequate space to go ahead and use our roads and sidewalks, and also make sure that we're all not having to have a ton of car repairs. With that, once we improve those things, we can make sure that the other 2 city services that we are very deeply invested in running at the municipal level, both our police department and our emergency services, have a better way to get to citizens, so that we aren't being caught up in different gridlock and on unsafe streets, so that we can all have a better, more enjoyable Topeka experience. So that's roads. Mm-hmm. Secondly, talking about safety, and I kind of touched on that before. We need to make sure that we have a good relationship with the law enforcement departments in town. And in Topeka, we have a lot of different law enforcement offices. But what I really want to highlight is the Topeka Police Department. There have been some pushes in the past few years to make sure that how the police department functions and how to get in touch with officers is more transparent. It's easier for our community members. And there have been pushes in the right direction. We need to continue that. We need to make sure that that basic humanity is seen in all people, whether you're in uniform or you're a citizen. And so making sure that our school resource officers are there to really mentor people, to mentor students, and make sure that they have stable role models in their life rather than focus on crowd control. Making sure that our community officers are deeply ingrained in our communities, that they're going to neighborhood meetings, neighborhood events, and that when you're walking down the street and you see that community officer, you have that personal relationship. By making sure that we're capitalizing on these relationships outside these times of crises, that helps us to buy into that insurance that when things do happen, we already have those relationships in place so we can all be safer and address different issues more thoroughly. Sometimes it's as simple as somebody stole your bike. Sometimes it's much more serious, like a shooting. And so we need to make sure that we have those relationships to keep our neighborhoods as safe as possible. Thirdly, I've been talking a lot with people about growth in the city, and that can mean a lot of things, and it means different things to different people. For many, it means economic growth. So making sure that we are helping small businesses to start, grow, and flourish within our city. It's also talking about retaining and attracting talent, making sure that our younger population doesn't spill out to Lawrence and Kansas City or further, that they don't get that same messaging that I did growing up from some of the people who were deeply invested in me, that it wasn't going to happen here for me and I needed to go somewhere else. I'd be happy to prove those people wrong, and I think they'd be happy too. It's also talking about development across the city, making sure that certain neighborhoods or certain parts of our city are not left behind. And so having that investment not just be in concentrated pockets of our city, but across the board. And so those are the three major topics that I've been talking about a lot with people and are really hitting home.
So what is the fun or most interesting thing you find about campaigning for office?
One of the things I have really grown to enjoy that I was very nervous about before is actually knocking on doors and having those one-on-one conversations with people. I was nervous because it's just constantly putting yourself out there, and you are on somebody's doorstep, invading their space, taking their time, and I thought people were going to be a little bit snippy or hostile. People have been nothing like that. They're so warm, and they're very excited to have somebody to listen to them. And I think that's something that is so needed in today's just world in general. And so what I'm finding is that people really appreciate the opportunity to just say what is on their minds, to be really heard, a lot like what you are doing here at Top City today, making sure that they are fully understood. And that takes time and it takes patience. And sometimes while you're on the doorstep, it's hard to not want to jump in and give an answer, especially when you're a student for so long and you know what they need or what you can say. If you're taking that time to actually digest what they're saying, a lot of times they have concerns about something completely different, and sometimes you're right on the money, but when you give people that chance to be understood, it makes all the difference. And that is something, if elected, I want to continue into my term as a city council person.
And thank you, Hannah, for coming on our show today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching Top City Today. Hannah Nager is running for City Council District 6. You can find more videos like this on local people running for local office here on our Facebook page. And you can like and share this video. Make sure to share it with your friends and family. Remember to take care of each other. And remember to watch next time here on Top City Today. I'm Trey McPherson. So long for now. Topeka's self-view isn't positive. What are your thoughts on how we can improve that view?
So that's something that Topeka has been facing for a long time, that negative image, and that really emanates into the community around us. And if we don't have that self-worth, then we're going to continue to lose people. We're going to continue to lose out on opportunities. We've made a huge turn, and there are people who are coming to us with ideas. There's investment downtown. There are investment in other areas of town. And so that cultural shift has started to happen, but it needs to continue. There have been some comments that I have gotten that I have these lovely ideas, that I'm thinking big, but that's not realistic. Or it's almost kind of a Pollyanna view of where we're going. And if you don't have positivity at the top, then how are you supposed to encourage that in your citizens? How are you supposed to make sure that people want to buy in? It's more than just being positive. It's not just putting a Band-Aid over our problems. It's about bringing light to them, but bringing that optimism, knowing that we can make it better. That with hard work, and sometimes with a lot of time, we can change those perspectives. We can improve and bring us from those problems to something that's going to be bigger, better, and more inclusive. And so by making the shift, by showing people that there are reasons to stay in Topeka, that there are reasons to come downtown, for instance, that's how we start to make that change and that positivity. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, very big man, probably 6'4", 250, could hold his own. And he was talking about how, they're doing all this investment downtown, and that's all good on paper, but I'm not going to stay down there. And I asked him why. He said, well, didn't really have a good reason. And I said, have you been downtown lately? Well, I work downtown, but I leave because it's dangerous down there. And I'm like, okay, well, now we're getting somewhere. Why do you think it's dangerous? What has happened? Well, it's just kind of dangerous. And he didn't have real concrete evidence to go behind that. And I finally got to the point where I was a little bit frustrated. And I said, look at me. I'm not a big person. I spend at least probably one night a week downtown. There are restaurants. There are different places to meet your friends and have discussions. There are great businesses that have gotten a foothold or trying to get a foothold. So we need to go ahead and make sure that we're investing in that. There's this huge shift. Let's go downtown. And I feel safe because I am safe. There's lighting, there's sidewalks, and there are people around. That's another issue that people had perceived, like who's walking around downtown? Well, when you can walk from the Cyrus over to the Globe and get some Indian food, go to the Pennant, go to Brewbank, go to Iron Rail at night, and then there are opportunities to get coffee and chocolate and spices. Why are you not really picking up on that opportunity? You can park once, walk around, get some exercise while you're running your errands, and get back into the car. Now, we do need to continue to invest in downtown in that way to make sure that it is a viable place for people to live. Right now, we are facing issues with food deserts in different parts of town, including in my district, District 6, with that Dillon's moving out. We need to make sure that Topeka's inner core is livable. And that's going to be reinvesting in the downtown structures that are already there, making sure that they are inhabited, that they're more than livable, that they are desirable, and making sure that we have the services that people need. We already have the city services in place. That's covered. So we need to make sure that there are things like grocery stores and pharmacies, and by making those investments, we can bring people downtown and start to build that momentum more and more so we all have more opportunities.
With empty downtown storefronts, do you agree with the city's current plan to try to revitalize the business sector downtown?
I think those empty storefronts show a ton of potential. You can see that there are a lot of developer signs downtown of people starting to make those changes, and whereas a lot of people walk by those really excite me because every time there's a new sign up, I'm like, oh, and now they have an architect, so there's something cooking in there. So we do need to make sure, though, that we're investing in those structures that are already there so we build a vibrant downtown not just to have a vibrant downtown, but to make sure that we're showing not only our citizens, but the people who come in for the legislature, the people who come in to see our sites and go to Heartland Stampede, that there is a lot going on in Topeka and that they should want to be a part of it. We should make people a little bit jealous when they come. And so we need to be careful about what we are proposing on a city level. There has been an introduction of a downtown tax increment financing district. We need to make sure that that is put in place to not just draw in big business, but to help nurture small business, local business, to make sure that Topekans are serving Topekans. We need to also make sure that with these plans, we're not overextending ourselves, but we are planning for the future so that we don't have this wonderful movement going forward and then in 10 years run out of space. Be a really cool issue to have, but let's make sure that we're planning for those next 15, 20, 25 years. Especially if we're trying to attract people to be here for the long haul, we need to start planning for the long haul. So I think there are a ton of great ideas about downtown investment that can then be mirrored in other areas of town. But we need to be very judicious and very smart about how we go ahead and apply the tools that we have at the different levels of government.
And it's very important that you mention the food desert, because that's been a huge issue. That Dillon's is now Grace Med. And so as far as I'm aware, in District 6, there's no other real grocery store. I know that there's been some movement from the neighborhood association on that front. Do you have any particular details or ideas that you're wanting to share on that?
So with District 6, we do not have a grocery store within the district proper. However, we do have grocery stores that are right across the street, like on 29th Street, across the street on Gage. And so that does not mean that we are without need. But there are several different ways that we can go about promoting good, healthy food, getting closer to constituents, especially those who are limited by transportation, whether it's because of income or age or health. We do need to make sure that those options are closer to them. District 6 is a high density, one of the highest density areas of living in our city. And so one of the challenges going forward could be finding space. So that's something that we need to work closely to figure out good city planning in order to secure more accessible and more healthy food. But it's something that we do need to continue planning for in the future as well. District 6 has that issue, downtown has that issue, and if you move into East Topeka, there's definitely an issue. As a healthcare provider, I definitely recommend that people have good, healthy, balanced diets, that people are getting their vegetables, that they're getting their fruits, that they're getting good sources of grains and meat, and not just falling back on Lunchables that you can find at Walgreens. We need to make sure that those areas are in place so that our future, that our kids have a better start, because whenever kids are malnourished, they don't do as well in school, and that can lead to behavioral issues and then educational issues, and that starts a whole cycle of issues. So this is tied to, we were talking about this earlier when we were just chatting. So many of these issues are intertwined. There's so much going on. And so by making progress on some of these other projects, we can definitely make moves, positive moves, for some of these other issues we're facing as a city.
Hello, I'm Trey McPherson. Welcome to Top City Today. I'm here with Hannah Nager. She's running for City Council District 6. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you, Trey.
Welcome. So tell us about yourself.
I'm a born and raised Topekan. I grew up going to our schools, and I graduated from Topeka High in 2008. While growing up, I was raised that you give back to the community that gives to you. Me and my family, we've been very privileged, we've been very blessed, and we've gotten all sorts of different opportunities, and we're very cared for while we were growing up. So it was important to volunteer in the community, to go out and experience what other people were putting into our city, and whether it was a local restaurant or a performance, it was important to take advantage of those opportunities. That wasn't the message that I always got from other people who were investing in me. Some of my teachers, some of my different directors. The idea was that if you were going to be a success, and they thought I could be, that you couldn't do it in Topeka. You needed to go to Lawrence, Kansas City, Chicago, New York. It wasn't going to happen here. And that was a very hurtful message and very contrary to what my parents raised us to believe. I did go away for college, and I went away for dental school. And while I was finishing up at the University of Oklahoma, I was trying to figure out where I wanted to practice. And in Oklahoma City, there were all of these wonderful things happening, and developments and growth in local businesses and community pride. And I kept thinking to myself and talking to my parents about, that'd be great if that was happening in Topeka. And they said, it is. And so I moved back, I bought my practice, I bought my house, and I've been volunteering and active in the community ever since.
What are the top 3 issues facing Topeka that you're going to work on at City Council?
The top 3 issues that I personally found, and then as I've been going and knocking door to door, are our roads and our infrastructure in general, safety, feeling safe and being safe, and city development and growth, whether that's being very technical with our economic plan or just talking about our city pride, making sure that we're not falling prey to pessimism. With the streets, we need to make sure that we are investing in our infrastructure from top to bottom, and that our city services are well taken care of. And plans like the Complete Streets program make sure that we're doing a thorough and efficient job of that. And that's something that City Council needs to stay on top of. With safety, we need to make sure that we have good, solid relationships with our law enforcement officers, that we support them as they support us, and that we see that shared humanity in each other, so we have those good relationships that we can build outside those times of crises. And thirdly, with growth and development, making sure that we are retaining and attracting talent, because we are showing the community of Northeast Kansas, of the United States, that we are buying in and investing in our city.
All right, and the last question that I can ask you, that we've been asking all of our candidates, is what is your favorite thing about campaigning for office?
My favorite thing has turned out to be the thing I was probably most scared about, knocking on doors, because I get to have really frank and wonderful discussions with people about their frustrations with the cities, but also the things that they love and the things that they have gotten to see turn around. There's some people when I go up to their door and they're like, okay, I know we're good on streets, so let's talk about something else. But there's some people who want to talk about streets for about 5, 10, 20 minutes. And it's been really enjoyable and very, very informative and helpful to find out what people think whenever they have the floor.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Hannah, for coming in
Thank you
today.
very much.
I appreciate you for being on our show, and I thank you for watching this episode of Top City Today. Please remember to like and share this video with your friends and family so they can find out more about Hannah's campaign on City Council District 6. Remember that there is a longer form version of this interview. You can find it here on our Facebook page. Remember, there's also other local candidates that you can watch as well. I'm Trey McPherson. This has been Top City Today. Goodbye.